Hello, everybody. My name is Hunter Marckwardt, and I am, I guess, Haley. I'm sitting here with Haley Garcia, by the way. Um, I am Impact's elite coaching podcaster. I'm their dear friend, known them forever, and told them I'd be happy to do this. So I have the pleasure today of interviewing Haley Garcia, one of the founders. So, Haley, how are you?
I am great, Hunter, and I am so excited to be here with you. Thank you for being part of our community and our brotherhood, and one of my dear friends for so many years now. How are
and
you, brother?
and sisterhood, right?
And sisterhood, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's just a general term that we're just supposed to say sisterhood or brotherhood or both, or if it's extending across the whole thing. So anyway,
All in the
um,
same.
all in the same. Haley, I want to know. I want to know what you're working on right now. Like, I want to just you and I talked a little bit before this, and I think one of the keys is as people hit 2025. Real quick, by the way, what are your thoughts on 2025? Not just being an optimistic person, but I mean, what's your mindset on what this year is going to look like in real estate?
In real estate, I think it's probably going to be very similar to what last year was. I think we will see a little bit of dust settle now that the NAR settlement has died down. I think we'll probably see a few more agents leave the business because if they're not really skilled on their negotiating skills and their relationships, they're going to have a hard time. I think it's going to create opportunity for the strong agents in the communities that are strong negotiators and do have the relationships. So we'll see a little bit more. Should we call it quote unquote depression around those areas? As far as the market goes, it's probably going to be about the same as it was in 24. And I'm a realist. I am
Yeah.
also optimistic in the way of because we are not in an election year, because we are past the NAR settlement, because the consumer is getting over rates just being what they are. I think we will see it be a little bit better across the country because those things are just no longer a distraction.
Okay. Got it. By the way, everyone, it's funny as I'm talking to you. So Haley is one of the three founders. She is I should say one of the three founders, one of the four founders, um, but the one realtor in the group. And I think one of the things with Impact Elite Coaching is it's the concept is coaching across the board. And I've always said that I would hire you as my personal coach all day long. So
Thanks.
well, of course, but as we're talking like 2025 with you, you've accomplished a ton. You do a ton of real estate. You have other ventures. You coach people outside of the industry, and they hire you back, which means you're doing good jobs in doing that. What are you personally working on in 2025? And I know like we're always talking about tactics. But I mean, if you look at the combination of mindset, just where your priorities are, let's just
Yeah.
start there and start and break down some tactics for people to take away from this call.
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. I do manage multiple different companies and projects, and last year, not only because the market, but also because I launched several new projects in development and new neighborhoods and coaching, and also a new real estate division with my resale team. I have a lot of things going on, and there were times last year when I felt that hint of frenetic energy, the energy of, I think I said it to you, Hunter, when you go to the airport, you have a choice of arriving at the gate 5 minutes before your boarding time, or you have a choice to get there an hour before and have a cup of coffee. And we all know the feeling difference of when you're racing to get there, to get in line, or to get on the plane before they close the gate versus having a cup of coffee and sauntering over and finding your place and being able to freely listen to a podcast or have a conversation with somebody you're with and get on the plane and go on your schedule. Um, I refuse for 25 to have any of that frenetic energy in any of my divisions or in any of my ways of life. And so in order to do that, I have to be very tactical, very strategic, and very planned. And so that's really what my focus is for the year. My word of the year is leverage. And so I have gone through all the boxes of life and thought about what are the different ways that I can leverage myself, my knowledge, my time, and my relationships in each box of life. And I've made kind of tactical plans for each behind that. And then I really am working with my team to create more clarity on their roles and on the new divisions and on the overlap of all the projects that I touch. And that goes in any industry that we're in, right? We all, I think, I realize this at least about myself. I forget the power of my relationships and how much overlap there is when I actually slow down long enough to pay attention to the possible overlap. And that overlap creates more business, it creates deeper relationships. And if I'm not intentional about it, it can create more of that frenetic energy versus really building new projects and deeper relationships.
Are you saying
So,
overlap? Are you saying overlap in a good way?
yes, yes, in a good way. Like in a good way, meaning I might have one relationship with someone, and that one someone and relationship might be able to touch three different aspects of my life. And I as well might be able to do the same for them. But if we don't slow down long enough to think about it, um, it may or may not be happening without us realizing it's happening. And then it can create a stress. Or if we really forward think it and plan and execute according to a plan, we can look at all the different pieces of life or business that one relationship might touch or affect and make a plan to have it end up with a positive result.
Can you, sorry to throw you under the bus on this, but can you give me an example?
Yes, yes. Um, so an example would be I have a builder that is a client. And that builder client is a really good friend of mine, and I represent my resale division represents all of his spec listings in this particular community. Well, that one builder is also really good friends with the developer of the community. Well, he introduced me to the developer. Well, I've now built a relationship with the developer. So now I'm working on developing new sections of the neighborhood with the developer. And I'm also building and representing the listings for the specific builder. Okay. So that's two pieces out of one relationship. Then I find out that this builder and his family are a big part of one of the nonprofits that is near and dear to my heart. Well, now we attend these different events together and we support these different projects and initiatives for this nonprofit together. That's three layers within this one person, right?
Yes.
Then this builder's wife is now also part of my book club. So now I'm building a relationship with his wife that's part of my book club. Well, now I have a whole network of women that are part of my book club that the wife is now brought into, and we're starting to work on other things together. So, see, the look on your face right now looks like you're so confused. And that's what happens in life, right? And then what I realized last year was I had so many of these key relationships that were actually building my life to be so much bigger and more full. And I wasn't connecting all the dots. And when I didn't connect the dots, I also would have this moment of where I would kind of go into panic mode that I was forgetting about certain things and I was forgetting to have conversations and to book certain coffee meetings with people because they really mattered. And I would forget how many pieces of life and business that one relationship touched. So,
Well, I think too, like I'm thinking about the look of confusion is more like me going, wow, like I think part of coaching and everything else, it's like, um, how do you bring things that you might think are accidental or unprepared, whatever, and make them intentional? And that's what you're
yes,
talking about.
correct. Correct. And really thinking through like the relationship and the leverage is one piece, but back to your original question of what am I working on this year? It's preemptively thinking about all those pieces and how they fit into my life, the different boxes of my life that are important to me, my schedule, my calendar, my team that's helping me execute everything. It's almost like I'm working on looking at my entire life more cohesively.
I love it. When you talk about leverage, like I think of leverage, I think of people that just come to my mind that over leverage in the name of saying that they're leveraged, yet nobody feels like they know them or talks to them directly. Like, can you? I know that's not what you mean, but I mean, like, for people that it's not a bad thing. It's just not my thing. But like you say, leverage, and all of a sudden someone says, okay, well, I can spend 3 minutes on Instagram and blast out to 10,000 people. To me, I guess it's leverage, but it's not the leverage that I want to do. Like, when you talk about leveraging, one, what are you talking about? And two, and break it down what you're getting out of it.
Yes, that's a great question. So, what I mean by leverage is first understanding where do I choose to put my time and my energy first, and where do I have the most impact? And really getting clear on that for me was my time and my leverage is most important and impactful to me and others around me when it is me personally. So, it's my B2B relationships, it's my coaching relationships, of course, my personal family and friend relationships, but it's everything having to do with the human connection with me. Anything else I want to leverage. So for me, those are the most protected time frames in my life. And the things that go on my calendar first is everything that has to do with me in a relationship. The next piece is leverage. So every PowerPoint that needs to be created, every piece of content, comps being run, paperwork being done, all of those things that have to be done for the world to go round. I have assistants and I have transaction managers and I have all of that built in the business. But you know as well as I do, there are still things that we get into, whether it's checking and responding to emails or it is responding to DMs on social media, right? If those things do not have to do with my FaceTime and my relationship actually being in connection, I'm not touching them any longer. So it could be something as silly as, I've said this a million times, but yes, everyone in my life might think that I'm high maintenance because I have a delivery service that does everything for me. Well, that delivery service doing everything for me saves me from actually having to go to the grocery store or do any of it. That's leverage to me.
Got
And
it.
that's just a tactical piece, right? But it applies in everything.
You talk about the pre-planning aspect of it. I love, like, you said frenetic energy.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
apologizing. I know the word. I don't like it. It's not like I wouldn't want someone to walk up to me in the street and ask me what the definition of frenetic energy was. But I also think it's really, really friggin' important, right? So when you talk about, like, give me some tactics on how you start to pre-plan based on your priorities.
You know, frenetic energy to me is anytime you feel like anything is in a frenzy, right? If there's any moment that you don't feel, or at least for me, any moment I don't feel grounded, calm, and having the clear-headed ability to lead myself through whatever is in front of me, then I'm off kilter. So, for me, the pre-planning aspect, as militant as it sounds, I plan the entire year as much as possible. I plan every quarter, I plan every month, I plan every week, I plan every day, right? So all of that is, the year's calendar is on the wall in my office. The quarterly calendar not only is for my travel and my initiatives for each quarter, but it also is for my team. It also is for my marketing team so that they know the theme of every single piece of marketing that goes out broken down on a quarter. So we're not having to talk about it. The more we can pre plan, the less conversation we have to have in the moment. And we can be talking about more expansive things versus what's just going to happen tomorrow. So it applies for me in my personal life and in my business life in every division that I run.
How organized are you?
Very. On a scale of a 1 to a 10, we're gonna go with a 9.
Okay. Who do you keep yourself organized?
I do not. No. No, I am one of those people that now I do to a certain extent for sure, but as far as the creation of the organization, that is not a strong suit of mine. However, I have to have it. So I have an admin that organizes everything and sets up all the structure. I have a We'll call her a house manager that does everything at my house and labels every drawer and every linen closet. I have a personal closet lady that comes every season and reorganizes my closet. And all of
Wow.
that sounds so high maintenance, but Hunter, the mental clarity and headspace that it gives me is priceless. It
Yeah.
is.
Well, I think what people have to think about too, like if you have if you're thinking you can't afford it, you can't do it, it's kind of the wrong mindset, right? It's like
Correct.
because you can't afford not to do it, it allows you to be your highest and best use, period,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes, and you're exactly right, and that's a great point. For example, the lady that comes to my house every season and reorganizes my entire closet charges me $200. Like,
Right.
this is not something that is, oh, so extreme I could never afford it. It's really us getting out of our own way and going, "Where are the pieces that I need to outsource and have somebody else's skill set come into my life or my business," i.e. the world of business coaching, right? So
Yep.
that we can use our energy and our resources for our highest good.
Where do you see different subject, but it's all in the same thing for me because the word I love is procrastinate. I don't love the word procrastination, but I think a lot of people struggle with it. And then I think back to I was going to ask you, what do you see most of your coaching students like? If you had to pick the top three things that they struggle with, what would those be? Me thinking that one of them would be procrastination.
It is. I mean, procrastination absolutely is at the top of the list. And I think it's because for all of us, we procrastinate for many different reasons, right? We procrastinate because it's uncomfortable. We procrastinate because it's a bad habit and we haven't figured out simply how to break it. We procrastinate because we think that whatever it is we're about to do is actually going to be hard. I also think we procrastinate because what we do is then going to make us be more self accountable. So there's many layers to the mountain is us, right? Um, but procrastination is always at the top of the list. Another area where I see a lot of my coaching clients really struggle is pre-planning and
Yeah.
really getting clear. And I think the pre-planning is so hard for people because they aren't actually clear on what their goals are. And if you don't know where you want to go, well, then it obviously is going to be a roadblock in order for you to really plan.
Okay, so I'm going to hit you with give me a couple tactics on how you figure out where you want to go. I mean, that's a really hard thing to do on a 30,000, or it's not even a 30,000 foot question, it's a 100,000 foot question. But how do you get, because you're right. Like we talk about all these tactics about everything. To me, like I call it like purpose versus process. Like the
Yeah.
process is getting the tactics, but without understanding the purpose on why you're doing anything, it doesn't matter. So if you were coaching me on two or three points on getting clarity on why on my why, what would you tell people?
There is a old school exercise that I always lean back on, and I really believe we don't know where we want to go until we reflect on where we came from. And so sitting down with some quiet time and really going through all the boxes of life and doing a review on how do you feel and how do you rate each box of life right now? And fundamentally, what is your biggest frustration in each box of life? So you can look at your family life, your spiritual life, your business life, your money life, right? All the different pieces that make us up as whole humans. I think it's really important to get clarity on how do I feel about this aspect of my life. And the idea of being able to compartmentalize it into those 7 or 8 boxes of life for me really helps because it gets me out of my own way. And so when I do that, then I can go, "Oh, okay. I see. I'm frustrated about X, Y, and Z. Now, tactically, what am I going to do to change those pieces that are frustrating me? And how long is it going to take me to do it?" And then I literally get tactical about it. And, that sounds really basic, but it works.
What's the next step? Like once you get the tactical aspect of it done, like I'm sure when people are listening, they hear like a calendar that's a year long, right? But the fact of the matter is that's how you start backing your way into things. But for people that are just listening, like if you had to give someone just a plan for the next quarter, what would you tell people?
I would tell them, number one, do the review on the boxes of life, get clear on where you're most frustrated, then create one to two tactics for the next quarter that are going to move the needle in each box of life and make them measurable items, right? So if it's your person, right, and you are not feeling good and you're frustrated that you feel sluggish and you have low energy, well, tactically, what do you need to do? Do you need to go to bed earlier? Do you need to get off your phone? Do you need, whatever it is,
Sure.
but create your tactic, then you need to put it into the calendar. And you need to, however you're wired, have it in front of your face. So for me, like once I completed all that, and I by the way have done this exercise for probably 15 or 16 years every single year. So it's kind of second nature to me now, but I'm really grateful that I've had coaches and mentors along the way that have made me do it until it became second nature, because I thrive on it now, but I didn't in the beginning, right? In the beginning, I would roll my eyes and go, this is ridiculous. This is not going to solve my problems.
Right.
Well, guess what? It really helps.
Yeah.
Um, but after I do that, and I would encourage anybody listening to do the same, because right now we're still at the beginning of the year, right? You can do that. And then I actually sit down and take time, and I do this with my team. We get creative about it and we sit down with magazines and we create actual cut and paste vision boards. And those vision boards include everything that we just reviewed that we want to bring into our new year. And so that visual aspect, as esoteric and, silly as some might like to label it, it actually engages certain pieces of our brain that make it come to fruition more and put it more in our focus and our mindset, on an ongoing basis. So that vision board every single year is stuck to a big bulletin board that's right next to my computer. So I'm seeing it every day. Then I'm tactically taking those specific measurable goals for each box of life and I'm putting them into my month digital calendar. And then I use the full focus written day planner, and I go in every quarter. Those planners are built by quarters, and I pre-write with hand and pen into the full focus planner everything that I want to do for each month in that quarter. And it is a lot of pre-work. It is. But the magic that happens from the pre-work to the end of the quarter, I can tell you, is really crazy. It always amazes me how much I get accomplished, how much I keep it in front of my focus, and how much it keeps my guardrails on, right? Because I get distracted just like everybody. I get exhausted. I'll want to give up. I'll find reasons to go, well, I know I thought this was important, but it's really not. But when I take the time to pre-plan and actually fit it into all of my life aspects that I see on a daily basis, it happens a lot easier.
I think the other thing you said earlier is with what you're talking about right now, and I just like, because I used to be the person in the room that listened to you right now talking about vision boards and 1 year calendars. I'm like, BS, whatever. It's like you also, I can look at your financials, I can look at your calendars, I can look at all your accomplishments, I can look at everything and say all of that stuff exists because of what you're talking about right now. One of the things that I don't think people understand that do procrastinate, that don't have the, like when you don't start, you have this overwhelming just feeling of anxiety and it just feels like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. And when you get that stuff out, when you get it out on paper, when you start putting some tactics in place to execute on, you use the word easier earlier, it creates freedom. I mean, it's like, it's, it's a word that everybody talks about, right? I mean, it's like extreme. Jocko is the one that said it originally, but I mean, it's just like extreme discipline creates extreme freedom. And until you actually go through that a couple times and recognize what it feels like on the other end, it is real.
Yes, it is. It is. And to your point, I never said it was comfortable or easy, right? It's not. It's still 15, 16 years in of me trying to keep the practice as a daily habit is
Yeah.
never comfortable or easy, but I do see the rewards get a little bit better every year. So I would add, if we're going to go with theme words, consistency
Mhm.
is so key. And you're right, when we procrastinate, we're that self-actualizing bad outcome that we are creating ourselves with the procrastination, which is why I think a lot of times the procrastination just becomes a really bad habit. We can be addicted to bad habits just as much as good habits, and it's the human brain and the way that it works. But I totally agree with you, and I think that, being able to talk ourselves through it and also get tactical and understand that even though it might feel like, "Oh, that's silly. I'm not gonna do a vision board. It doesn't have any relevance in my life." When you do it long enough and you get the feeling of the weight being lifted and the reward on the other end, you start to, buy in a little bit more.
Yes. Your side. So if we are talking about, I'm on the mortgage side, you're on the real estate side, I think it's all applicable. But in general, how is your side of the fence feeling at the end of 2024 going into 2025? Is it like optimism, or is it like, oh my God, we're sludging through this again?
I mean, I can tell you in my market and on my team, all of my agents are very optimistic. Everybody had a good year. It was not an amazing, phenomenal, best year ever, but it was a good year. And I actually think, at least from our perspective and all the agents that I've talked to, we're really grateful for a lot of the changes that happened. And we feel really good about what's gone on. So, I mean, I would say it's optimistic for sure.
I love it. Okay, so then I'm going to follow up then for the people that aren't optimistic listening to us right
Yes.
now.
Yes.
The people that you see succeeding right now on the real estate side, what are they? Skip, I mean, we talk about teams, but individual contributors, what are they doing right now? People talk, I don't know, people say, hey, what made you successful 20 years ago isn't going to make you successful today. I agree to a degree, right? Like, I still think it's the basic stuff of talking to people and communicating with people and doing, like, what are you seeing those people that are optimistic, that do have a good plan ahead of them? Give us some things that they're doing.
Absolutely. They are learning all of the new tactics from a industry standpoint. So the ones that I see that are really excelling are the ones that are learning the new contracts. They're learning new negotiating skills on how to keep their own commissions, right? They're learning the markets even better so that they can actually share their value to the consumer and be educated on what's going on. The days of being able to open a door or show up and take a listing and not having to actually be an industry expert are gone. And I had a younger agent ask me for advice the other day, and this sounded like I was being full of myself, but I really wasn't. He said to me, "What do I need to do? What do I need to remember in order to be successful?" And I said, "What you need to remember is that as a buyer's agent, you are negotiating with a listing broker like me. So your skills need to get honed. You need to understand how to do it. You need to understand your value and be really rooted in your value that you bring to the table for your buyer, and be able to articulate that to the listing agent, because those are going to be the people that stay in the business and get the market share. The agents that are afraid to talk about commission and afraid to talk about their value of services and what they charge for those value of services are the ones that aren't going to be able to hold the line. So all the ones I see doing the classes and going to coaching and really sitting and going, all right, how do we get better? How does our presentation need to be better? How are we articulating this to the consumer? Those are the ones that are winning right now.
They're practicing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I think it's
Yes.
the same on the lending side of things. I think just in general, the days of whether or not you say opening doors, whether or not on the lending side it's taking someone out just for cocktails and all of a sudden you get a few leads, whatever. It's like you have to be a professional these days. I do think that there's massive opportunity, but I think there's also opportunity because of the amount of people that are no longer in the business, but the people that are left have to take it. You have to be a better professional than you've ever been. And it's just, it's that simple. So we've got another couple minutes and we'll wrap it up. But final thoughts for you on, I would say, like, what you think. Well, here, I'll extend this just a little bit longer on the coaching. I was actually on a call with our CEO today, and he's not a coaching type of person, but he literally said to a lot of people that they should consider coaching to stay on track. What has it done for you?
Oh my gosh. You
And how
know,
long has it been, by the way?
yeah. So long. Let's see. I am about to turn 46, and I met you, Hunter, in a coaching aspect when I was 26. So
Wow.
we are officially at 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what has it done for me? You know, I will forever give all credit to the coaches in my life. I would know nothing about the industry. I would know nothing about business. I would not know so many aspects of the layers of life as a whole without my coaches. And I have had so many great ones over the years. I have had coaches that have taught me exactly how I want to be. I have had coaches that have taught me exactly how I don't want to be. I have had coaches that have taught me mindset and tactics, and I have had coaches that have reviewed financials and had coaches that have taught me how to end marriages. So it is from one end of the spectrum to the other. For me, I have multiple coaches at all times in my life, and I probably will forever. And if you want to label me as a coach junkie, that's fine. I'm okay with that because I
No
know what
doubt.
it's done in my life, right?
Yeah.
And it's the relationships too, right? Like you and I and all the guys at Impact, these people are so important in my life, and they have made it so whole, that I think everybody deserves to be in a community, whatever that community is that speaks to you, right? But it's guardrails for life. And it's also your phone a friend, and it's your I'm going to hold up the mirror when you need somebody to hold it up, and I'm going to pick you up when you're down, and I'm also going to celebrate you when you win. So for me, I mean, it sounds, I had great parents, and I told somebody the other day, I still feel like my coaches have taught me more than my parents.
Wow. That's awesome. I think the other thing is too, I mean, it's like you do, in fact, I mean, when you hang out with people that have a growth mindset, it's just that simple, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
just that simple. So,
Yep.
um, thank you for spending this time with me. I do want just everybody, when I think of impact elite coaching, I mean, it's basically it's freedom, it's consistency, and wealth. That's what your right. I mean, that's what your core
Yeah.
belief system is on a individual basis, right? How does each individual person that you're coaching get to a point of freedom, consistency, and wealth? And I mean, if you put those three words together, I'll take all three of them all day long. So if you have questions about Impact Elite Coaching, all you have to do is email admin@impactelitecoaching.com. And someone will get back to you very quickly. So, Haley, I really, really appreciate you allowing me to be here with you. And I will talk to you sooner than later. And everyone, thanks for joining us today.
Hunter, thank you so much. Thank you for being a great friend. And I'm going to see you on the other end of 2025.
Perfect. Love it.
Bye.